two siblings. They're called Hansel and Gretel. And they lived in a house, and their father was a woodcutter. And he had a wife, so it was like the stepmother of Hansel and Gretel. And what happened is that they were very, very poor, very poor. So one day, the stepmother, she was very mean. She was like, hey, we're going to starve here, okay? She told her husband, we're going to starve, so can we just get rid of the kids, okay? So he was like, how can you say that? Like, get rid of the kids? Like, she was like, yeah, I mean, we don't have enough money, we don't have enough food for them. So he was like, oh my God, I mean, in between my wife and my kids, what am I going to do? So she was like, let's go for a walk and we'll drop them in the forest. Just like that. And then he says, okay, let's do that. So one day they go for a family trip in the forest. And it turns out that they get like more and more within the forest, and then the father and the stepmother ran back to the house, and Hansel and Gretel found each other alone. And Gretel was so scared. She was like, oh my God, our dad just abandoned us. And like, and Hansel was like, don't worry, little sister, I'm going to take care of you, and we'll go back. I know where we can go back. I just threw some pebbles around our path, so I know that we can go back. So they managed to go back that evening. And when the stepmother found out that they have come back, she went furious. She was like, what are you doing here? Okay? And she locked them in, like in the basement of the house. Don't make me laugh. And then she gave them like a very, like a little sip of water and just hard old bread to eat. So they were like, okay, this is not going good. So they, again, she kicked them out. And this time the father didn't know that she had kicked him out, kicked the kids out. So they went again in the forest, and she took them very, very far this time. And this time they started like throwing little crumbs off, like to remember where the path was to go back home. But they didn't realize that there were these animals, like birds, that ate the crumbs. So when they wanted to go back to the house, the crumbs weren't there anymore. So Hansel started crying and like, oh my God, we're not gonna find our house. We're not gonna find it. And they started like wandering around the forest, wandering around. Dawn came, daylight came, and suddenly they found like a piece of chocolate, like there. And Gretel was like, okay, this is chocolate, what is this? And they continued, and they found like this big house that was made out of sweets and chocolate and candy. So they started like eating pieces of the house. And then an old lady came, and she was like, oh, well, who is this? And she was like, do you want to come in and have dessert? And they were like, okay. So when they came in, they realized this old woman, she was almost blind, she couldn't see much, but she turned into a witch. She was not an old lady, she was a witch, and she wanted to eat them. So she was like, you are going to stay here, and I'll make a big dinner out of you. So she locked them in, and she couldn't see very much. So she was like, I want to see how fat you are. I want to see how fat you are. So she was like, give me your hand, give me your hand. And Hansel like gave a little bone that he had kept from the forest. So she had the impression that he was very thin. Yeah. She had the impression he was thin. And she was like, you're not fat enough, keep on eating, keep on eating. And then one day she decided not to wait anymore for them. So she pulled them out of this cage that he had him in. And she started like preparing all the stuff in her kitchen. and she was like, Gretel, can you give me a hand and just like check if the oven is right, if it's at a good temperature? And she was like, okay, I'll check. And when she came back, she said, okay, I have no idea how to check for the temperature. And she was like, the witch was like, I'll do it, just don't worry, you're a useless child. And when she go there, like Gretel pushed her and locked her in the oven. So they ended up eating everything that she had and grabbing food. And then they discovered a full bag of gold coins. So they ended up like having a treasure with them. And at the end, their father found him. And he said, oh, I'm so sorry, I dropped you, I deserted you, and you don't deserve this. And and Gretel was like, oh, Daddy, please don't leave us again, and we have coins now, and you don't have to cut wood again. So that's the end.